Welcome to the E-Triple-S Tech Talk series. And now I have with us Mr. Manohar, who is global safety expert in ZF Group. So it's great to have you as part of the 8th edition of E-Triple-S, Manohar. And there are a few questions related to your domain. I would like to take your inputs. And so my first question would be like, how do you view the transition of whole legacy subsystems in automotive industry to a more structured approach as recommended by the modern safety and security standards?
Thanks for the question. More often, these legacy ones are proven in the field, and we often get the update requests from the customers for more and more safety updates and security updates like R155 or SUMS update or IVD updates. And this is becoming more complicated because in the legacy ones, you have a single core, maybe no partitions for ensuring the freedom from interference. So, upgrading them to an SL based or to a safety oriented structure may not be a difficult thing, but ensuring the properties like freedom from interference or ensuring the different SLs in the same software, which was already in a monolithic where everybody have access to every resource in the software, could be more difficult. So some approaches can be considered like doing a proper impact analysis, considering the what kind of changes we're talking about. Will it affect on the requirements? Will it affect on the design? Will it affect on the implementation or testing? And understanding those changes properly and applying the proper framework from ISO. For example, you have a contemporary product of braking and you have a legacy braking product. So you understand what is my contemporary product have as part of SLs or something, and then what is missing for the legacy one, and do a gap analysis between the hazards and safety goals they have so that I understand what is missing there. And based on that one, I can go for different approaches. Like, for example, I can make a wrapper around the components to bridge that safety gap so that the legacy component remains safe. And I build a safety wrapper around that, filling all the gaps that have, and virtual partitioning if possible, or making another controller respectively controlling these functions or addressing these safety gaps. And when it comes to security part, security or our FOTA updates, it becomes more complicated. And currently, with the legal regulation coming for R155 compliance by 2024, it becomes more complicated. So a proper analysis is the starting point, and either to consider the wrappers or identifying that small portions to go for modifications at a very small level. Like, for example, you have two kinds of approaches you can take over. One is your three-layer safety concept, where every function existing can be a QM. So develop a new monitor which can take over the safety load. That could be one approach. That their complete software can be QM or complete functionality can be QM, and then you can have a safety monitor around that one, around complete software. Or individual components, then you build a monitor around them, or you build a wrapper of safety monitor around them. These kind of things needs to be considered. And for the legacy ones, the primary challenge will be the hardwares might not be having that capacity, like to have a dedicated memory protection unit, to have a dedicated HSM. So there we need to see for different alternatives from the current frameworks and take a call how to go ahead for it. That would be my take on legacy handling.
Thank you. That was quite detailed and descriptive. Thank you. So Manohar, the next question would be more on the software development vehicles. So it is like, what is your perspective on the development and adoption of these software development, software defined vehicles in India as well as in global context?
Okay, that's a contemporary question because we are talking more about software defined vehicles nowadays. So if you look back when I started my career in 2006, the software was pretty much simple. A C file and a parameter file, and go for the testing very easily. Requirements are simple. And there are some challenges earlier, like we don't have a proper, used to not to have a proper software architecture. It used to be a kind of diagrams or implementation. But now customers are also demanding more and more, and standards are also demanding more and more. So the entire software overhauling is being done. So people are talking about software architecture, software requirements, traceability between requirements to the architecture to the designs, and traceability between left and right sides in a detailed manner. And also moving forward from single core to the multi-core with MPUs and HSMs involved, and configure them. And also the future is like the suppliers are not simply supplying a part and tier one is doing all the work. Back in the days, we used to get the sensors and we used to calculate the current. based on the current we used to calculate the speed. Now they're sending directly the speeds on the cam with the safety measures. That means if a signal is invalid or something, they're directly sending to us on the cam. So you buy the sensor, and they are so capable of sending the values. We're directly reading them, and we are taking the next level, like plausibilization directly, not bothering about individual failures in those components or something. So similarly, when it comes to the software side also, to integrate these whole new concepts, like how to ensure freedom from interference. So first of all, you need to identify a proper safety relevance of a component, and then you need to bring in a proper safety analysis in terms of FTA, or in terms of HACCP, or in terms of event chain analysis as kind of. So when you compare system level with the software, it is not so easy to make a quantitative analysis at software level, and not easy to make a detailed detective analysis like FTA as well. That's why in the second edition of ISO 262 as well, it doesn't mandate says that detective or anything. It suggests to have a sufficient safety analysis to identify what can go wrong with a component, and then what about the measures. And also dependent failure analysis and freedom from interference becomes more and more complicated and more important. So we need to ensure that these components are not interfering with each other. For example, lower SL1 was not given high priority than the higher SL1. Lower SL1 doesn't have priority over the resources for the higher SL1. Lower SL1s do not have data communication or data overlap, or have access to write the memory, access the memory locations of these ones. These becoming more and more complicated, and also the suppliers are giving more and more packaged content. Like for example, if you see all the Infineon or these suppliers are doing this one, and also ZF as a global site is also on the run. We are working on the Pro AI, where you can use a plug and play ECUs, so that one ECU can cater any application, a standardized base software, or a platform where you can use any ECU, around 4 ECUs with redundant 4 ECUs, so that you can go for advanced autonomous levels. And also the capability of the software, as if you remember in one of the radar sessions, they mentioned the huge data that will be coming in and accessing them, and the other one is working on 77 gigahertz, whereas we are still working on lower frequencies when it comes to the controllers. So how do you handle this data? So there's big data and analysis, and being standard controllers can have bit higher capacity, but not too extensive than like a standard mobile network development or something. So these things make most, we are talking about more from a classic AUTOSAR to the adaptive AUTOSAR, from a classic single cores to the multi cores to the hypervisors, and also more on AI based ones. How do you handle this AI based ones? And we are more talking about photo updates. So who should be taking care of these photo updates? Who should be responsible if something goes wrong? These becomes more and more important concerns when it comes to security side, when it comes to photo updates, when it comes to firmwares, or even because nowadays the intent is no one goes to the service center to get that updated. So how do you ensure that? This is again a burden on the software. So more and more validation measures, more and more creative lifecycle applications, because we cannot rely on traditional water cycle or V cycle. Things are moving into agile frameworks and so on. But when you go to agile framework, it's not that you move and you just do something. You need to have a proper framework to ensure that this doesn't lead to another catastrophic development or issues at the end. So that's yeah.
So I feel like the tier two vendors has to be more proactive about safety and security now.
Yes, in a way they are already. As I said, the component suppliers like sensors and all, the microcontroller suppliers like Infineon or TI, or let's say the subsystem suppliers like radars or cameras or these pressure sensors, they're already up in the game. So it should be a proper collaboration between OEM to the tier one to the suppliers, so that these kind of seminars will help more to connect these networks, and will help bringing the software defined vehicle concepts more useful and more easily achievable.
Different stages of
Yes,
development people are
should be
in one
brought
joint
together.
to
Yeah.
discuss on. Thank you. So, thank you, Manohar, for those detailed answers. And now I would like to go a little bit general, but still sticking to your field. There is a lot of skill gap in the industry when it comes to, software-defined vehicles. So, can you propose any ideas, or what do you feel about it? Can you propose any ideas so that that skill gap is reduced in the industry as well as when it comes to academia?
Okay, that's a good question actually, and we are trying to address that one in multiple fronts. Mostly, industry should be collaborating with the academia, like giving frequent seminars in the colleges so that you motivate the final year students, so that they understand what industry looks for from the academia, and giving, like, let's say, intern projects or something. And at the same time, colleges also, universities or colleges also should look proactively for bridging this gap so that they are industry ready. Generally, we take at least 3 to 6 months to train a fresher. So this gap, if you can reduce, that will help a lot. Currently, ZF is already in a kind of forefront in that one. So we are collaborating with Team Address for supporting them with the collection of data for ID systems. So similarly, ZF is collaborating with several academies, and universities, and colleges to promote this culture, so that they are ready with the industry, and promoting interns and helping them with the industry knowledge, and then looking really where they are shining, and giving them an entry point into the industry. And when now we talked about in academy to industry, within industry, one major gap people often feel is like when it comes to, for example, safety side. So often people think that safety is function safety manager's job. So I'm a tester, I'll do whatever comes to me, and that's it. I'm a developer. Yeah, I get the detailed design, I do the MATLAB model, and I'm done. I'm an architect, I'll take care of it, but safety manager have to take care of the rest of it. No, it's everybody's job.
That's not the correct approach.
It's everybody's job. When a requirement engineer doesn't care about what requirement he's writing and what is the biggest picture he is he's fulfilling in this role, if he don't understand that one, it's a waste of job. It's a kind of doesn't add to the overall product safety. So product safety is everybody's responsibility, and as a safety person, what I do every day is, whenever I look at a requirement, whenever I look at a test case or a safety case, my only thing is, somebody will be driving a car based on this report. So that could be my family member, that could be anybody's family member. So we always look from that perspective. Every safety manager looks from that perspective. Somebody, a real person, will be driving the car. So everybody should start looking from that way. A requirements engineer, if he writes a requirement, detect as soon as possible, and then you assume your family members into that situation, and just imagine how much pain people have with this Boeing 737 Max back-to-back incidents. Even it's still not the Malaysian flight catastrophe. So Malaysian flight is a kind of disaster, but Boeing 737 was a kind of negligence. So everybody should be, taking that responsibility. A system requirements engineer, a system architect, a system tester, a system integrator, a software developer, architect, tester, quality assurance person, or the project managers, or the management of the company. Because if management gives clear guidance and importance to the safety, security, automatically things will flow down to the down levels, right? So the gap, it should be frequent understanding, it should be frequent sessions, in motivating sessions, and also creating that safety awareness, creating that safety culture. So if I am a safety manager and I found some gap, I should not be afraid of telling the senior management. That kind of culture should be there in the organization, so that, I mean, the rewarding culture for the safety adherence. Okay. And also at the same time, making people understand their role in achieving this function safety or security will help to bridge this gap. So that's why we focus as JEDF, we give highest priority for safety and security. So we keep on giving frequent trainings to the industry and to the academy, and we have a dedicated training department to give safety things and promote safety culture. We have an independent culture for safety assessments, so that no one is influenced by the project timelines or by the project pressures. So companies should come up with more and more this
Creative ways to.
kind of culture to bridge this gap.
Thank you, Manohar. Thanks for your time. And once again, thank you for
Thanks for the opportunity.